Welcome back to the Procurement Federal Acquisition Supplement and Defence Federal Acquisition Supplements Clauses podcast, where today we're going to dive into something we get asked about all the time. What exactly are commercial off-the-shelf, or COTS products, and how do they really differ from commercial items? It sounds simple, but the details are critical when you're dealing with federal procurement. According to the FAR, specifically Part 2, a commercial item is any product or service used by the general public for non-governmental purposes. That's a wide net. This includes products with a commercial sales history, catalogue listings, set market prices, and all the rest. But COTS, according to that same section, are a much narrower slice. They're basically items sold in large quantities in the same form as in the commercial market, with no modifications at all offered to the government. The intent with COTS is off the shelf in the truest sense. What you buy at a store is what the government gets too.
Yeah, and Eric, this difference pops up in all sorts of ways in the real world. Like, take laptops. If you're buying a basic consumer laptop model that anyone can grab from a big box retailer, that's COTS. No tweaks, no changes, just shrink-wrapped and shipped. But if a government agency wants custom imaging, data management tweaks, or, those slightly odd specs only a government IT wonk would dream up, suddenly it's a commercial item instead. And there's a reason they care. The government can move faster and skip some headaches if they're buying strict COTS. But as soon as it gets customized, the rules change.
Right, Ruby. And this legal nuance really matters. FAR 2101 makes it clear all COTS items are a type of commercial item. Think of COTS as a square inside a bigger commercial items box, but not every commercial item is COTS. DFARS 252.212-7002 reinforces that distinction. Why is it important? Because COTS come with streamlined rules, fewer compliance requirements, sometimes less cyber stuff, definitely different pricing and cost structures. But as soon as you're outside those COTS boundaries, a contract can trigger extra requirements and more flow-down clauses, which ramps up the complexity. That's why supply chain and compliance teams have to know the difference cold. Messing it up risks delays and non-compliance. Let's get into the actual clauses where these distinctions show up. FAR 52.212-1 is your main commercial item solicitation clause. This governs everything from proposals to basic performance. You'll see it everywhere. Now, DFARS 252.225-7015, for example, puts restrictions on the acquisition of hand or measuring tools. But here's the kicker. Whether you're dealing with COTS or commercial items, impacts which clauses even apply. COTS items are usually exempt from a lot of cost accounting standards and can bypass certain reporting requirements, while commercial items might not. They're subject to more, depending on the level of customization.
That exemption is big, actually. When you're procuring COTS, most of those cost accounting standards, like those in FAR Part 30, just don't apply. It's essentially acknowledging that these are widely available, mass-produced items, so tracking every penny isn't as critical. It really can speed up procurement and cut down on paperwork, but only if everyone is clear about what qualifies as COTS.
That's so true. Funny story. I remember in my first procurement role, we had this whole debate over FAR 52.204-21, Basic Safeguarding of Covered Contractor Information Systems. Somebody thought a popular tablet was COTS, so they skipped over some safeguarding requirements. But as it turns out, because it was loaded up with extra encryption tools and a custom OS image, it was technically a commercial item, not COTS. And our supplier wound up scrambling to retrofit their compliance program. It was a mess, and it all started with that little mix-up between COTS and commercial item status. So let's talk about who's actually using these things and where the rubber really meets the road. A government buyer will usually reach for a COTS solution when they need something fast, reliable, and proven. like tablets for troops in the field or standardised IT gear for new officers. There was a case where the Department of Defence needed ruggedised tablets quickly for a communications rollout. Because they went with a COTS option, they got the devices delivered in weeks, right off the shelf, no waiting around for a custom build. Commercial items, on the other hand, come into play when agencies have very specific needs. Think data centres with unique security requirements, or major systems that pull together lots of different components.
And here's where people still get tripped up. If you ignore flowdown clauses, especially around cybersecurity, like DFARS 252.204-7012, you're exposing yourself to risk. There are plenty of stories of subcontractors thinking, well, it's just COTS, we're good. But when you start layering on custom software or you're handling covered defense information, suddenly DFARS mandates, reporting, and safeguarding rules apply. If flowdowns are missed, you could be facing compliance violations. And those aren't just headaches. Those can end contracts or trigger major penalties. You need robust tracking and clear documentation to stay on top of it.
Absolutely. And these procurement distinctions are more than just labels. They drive negotiation tactics too. In the aerospace sector, for example, major COTS procurements often come with price transparency and highly standardized terms, which makes negotiating a bit less painful than, say, a custom-built communication system where you have to hash out data rights and special clauses line by line. For compliance, make sure you've nailed down which flowdown clauses stick, especially for cyber. And never assume one size fits all. Double-check those contract schedules. All right, I think that's a solid point to wrap up this episode. Ruby, Paul, any last thoughts?
Just that, if you're not sure, ask early. Sorting out COTS versus commercial item at the start saves heaps of stress down the line.
Agreed. The legal details are there for a reason, and missing them can be costly. Always check the definitions and clauses in your solicitation docs first.
Brilliant advice as ever. Thanks, Ruby and Paul. And thanks to all of you for listening. Don't forget, we'll be back with another episode digging deeper into the federal procurement world. Until then, take care. Bye, Ruby. Bye, Paul.
Catch you next time. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Paul.
Goodbye, everyone. Talk soon.